Okay, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Anxious and Thriving. I am your host, Casey, and today we are joined by my best friends, Dara and Molly. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Zoom, which I'm sure you've been on all throughout quarantine, which we all hate at this point, but now we're back. We're still using it. Yeah, for all the listeners that don't know, we all met at Ithaca College our freshman year. We were neighbors.
We were neighbors. And then I absconded.
And then you fucked it up. I'm trying to think if, I found it so funny that I kind of only knew you guys and then, Shay, Holly, and then the other side, we the other side of the bathrooms.
Anytime one of them came into the bathroom when I was there, I would run out. I
know!
I was like, it's too late into the year to meet these people. Right. I should know who they are.
Yeah.
And that's on social anxiety.
Literally. Oh my god, it was bad. I'll try to give a visual, but there's the building on this. Every floor based on gender.
In that building, yeah.
Okay.
And so there were 6 rooms, but there was a bathroom in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separating us.
Yeah. Should we give the listeners some context about who we are?
Yeah, please. Introduce yourselves.
Because I feel like a rando at the party, so let me introduce myself. So I'm Dara. I am 24. I was at Ithaca for BFA acting, and then I left. I am from New York, and I am living here with my folks right now. And my favorite flavor of Ben and Jerry's ice cream is fish food. Molly.
Ew.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm Molly. I lived with Dara freshman year and next door to Caitlin. And I stayed at Ithaca and then stayed in Ithaca. So I still live here. I'm 25. I work as a youth counselor with kids and teens and some adults experiencing dating or sexual violence. And I love it. And it's very stressful. And my favorite flavor of Ben and Jerry's is cookies and milk. That's
milk and cookies. Yeah,
milk and cookies. That one. I don't even know what it's called. Oh man.
Yeah, I hate icebreakers, but thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
They're the absolute worst.
My favorite one actually is my friend does. Would you rather have a dragon or be a dragon?
Oh.
That's my favorite icebreaker question, and I always use it because I think it's great.
That is a really good one. I think I would want to have a dragon.
Yeah,
me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the dragon life could be pretty exciting too. So
yeah. But then you would be be able to go into a store, but also be able to ride on a dragon's back. You know.
Just park it outside.
Tie it to the curb.
Yeah.
Where the bikes are.
You know what song came up on my Spotify this morning, Caitlin?
What? Church? Take me to church?
And Caitlin used to make the best facial expressions and act out miming, I don't know, to this song, and I literally was like, it's fate. Of course we're recording this today.
Aww. The main topic of this episode, now that we're getting into it, is just friendships, how they evolve, how you make new ones depending on your education, if you're going somewhere, your job, if you meet your friends there, and just your overall path of life, losing friends, making friends. And I think with quarantine, we're all very lonely. At least I could say for myself. I've been surprisingly okay throughout COVID. I don't know how.
Congratulations.
But I mean just friends wise, I'm pretty okay at not being surrounded by people. I was living at home so when COVID started, March through, I moved out in November.
Yeah.
And I was like surprisingly okay because like my whole depression and anxiety thing happened in 2019. And then towards the end of 2019 is when I started to really do good. So I was in a good
Mhm.
place mentally for it.
Right.
But now it's weird that I'm finally starting to feel like the loneliness of everything. Because I think I've come to a point where I'm okay with like myself. But in terms of like being with people, it's a mix of like one, I live with my roommate. Sometimes he's not here. He hasn't been here for a week.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know where he is. He doesn't text me. It's fine. We're good.
Oh no.
No, he's really cool, but he just like is not a good texter. But like a lot of people are working, their whole lives have been just like work,
Mhm.
which sucks during COVID because you can't do anything else. But I feel like I'm also just at like a different point. I don't know about mentally or just like where my life path is between like my friends that I have here and just like, I don't know, some of my friends overall. It feels like there's a slight shift. So I think I'm feeling lonely because of that, but also just because COVID's been going on for so freaking long that like now I'm finally feeling lonely.
Totally.
I think that's, yeah, so valid. Perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable.
I feel you about the shitty 2019 setting you up to feel like 2020 wasn't too bad because I definitely had a similar
Really?
experience. Oh my God, 2019 was the worst year of my life for sure.
Yeah.
And then in comparison, you know, the world was terrible in 2020, but
Mhm.
my life felt so much better. Even though, you know, pandemic was going on and quarantining and working from home and everything. And life stressors still happened, but I think like because my mental health was so much better, I was like, oh, this is comparatively great. I'm
Right.
doing well.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of people, like whatever feelings are going on that would happen normally have just been kind of amplified
Yeah.
because you don't have the space to really distract yourself from them. And you don't have the normal things that would help you cope, like social support or being able to really go places and do things. So I think you're definitely not alone in that for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, you were living with your parents for a lot of it. I know that like living with my parents during COVID, there was a lot of like, oh, I want to keep them safe, you know, and like I don't, not only am I like not trying to be that dickhead who like, you know, goes out during COVID. Not that I go out during normal times,
Same.
you know, really goes out during COVID. Like, but also like I was really afraid of bringing it home because like I am pretty low risk, all things considered, but like my parents are, you know, I have older parents, they're in their 60s. You know, I like the fear of bringing that home to them was like a very real experience
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I don't know if you felt that way, Caitlin.
Yeah, no, same for me. And it was weird how COVID started because it was like wear masks. Okay, wait, don't wear masks. Maybe you don't need them. Okay, but actually you do. So there's kind of like a this up and down kind of thing going on. So at first I didn't really know how like strict to be. I also didn't really I only had like two friends that were in my hometown at the time. So we didn't really hang out anyway. I didn't really see people anyway. Like you said, even before COVID, like I didn't really do anything.
Right.
But no, yeah, both my parents are upper 50s, now in their 60s. So it became more of an issue just to make sure, yeah, I didn't bring anything home. We also had my grandma move in with us.
Oh my
boy.
God.
That was rough. Like again, mentally I was okay, but work was stressful, and then my grandma being here was stressful. So she has dementia.
Oh.
And like switching up someone's life and environment who has dementia, like that seriously affects them. And so we like made her a room in our family room downstairs on the first level. and we put in these doors, and she brought her cat. Oh my god, that freaking cat is literally the devil. But like that was like her support animal, so obviously she came. But like it was a struggle every day. She's also really not good with technology. She's still living back in like the 1900s, whatever. Like even a clicker, like a remote for a TV, she doesn't know how to use it. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I love that you call it a clicker because my 8-year-old grandparents call it a clicker.
Really? I had to also say remote afterwards in case people didn't know. But so yeah, whenever I was with her, it was tough. I also was working from home at this point. Our business opened back up in like June or July, but before then, ever since March, when COVID started, I was working from home, and so I would be upstairs in my room, and then when I would like come down for like lunch or whatever, my grandma didn't understand that people can use computers to do their work from home. And because she has dementia, literally every day coming downstairs, she'd be like, so what are you up to today? And be like, I'm working upstairs. She's like, you're working upstairs? How? And I'm like,
Oh man.
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh, I was actually gonna go off of something that you said, that you only had a couple of friends in your hometown. I think that's like, I think something that's really important to talk about is like quality versus quantity with friendships. And like I think that like you're fed this narrative, especially as like a middle schooler, that like the more friends you have, the more happy you are. And then like as you get older, I think there's a certain amount of like, well, like one or two really close friends can sort of like do that. Not to say that like you shouldn't have acquaintances and people that you can like go out with or whatever, but like you don't need to have like 100 million best friends in order to like be happy with friendship.
Yeah.
I don't know if those friends from high school are like people that you really connect to or like really help you get through stuff.
Yeah, those two friends, I was friends with in high school, and then we like one of them actually is my roommate, and I didn't know him really at all in high school, but he was friends with my other friend that I did talk to in high school. And we didn't really hang out all throughout college, so I hadn't really seen either of them since like high school graduation. But we both like doing the same things. Like they like playing video games and board games and like going out to Dairy Queen or whatever, like the basic stuff. And I don't know if it's an issue or a good thing, but I can kind of like get along with different kinds of people. So I can say that like my close friends are a certain way, but do I really connect with them is the other question. I think I'm starting to like ask that question to myself of like, who do I really connect with? Who do I value spending time with? Who actually like makes me feel better? And who am I just like giving my time to that's not really helping me? Because I've always been there for like my friends, but in terms of like, if I ask them to hang out, it's usually they're not. So my two friends that I was hanging out with though during COVID, they were really good. So that was fine. But yeah, the quality over quantity thing is huge. I thought that a lot in college because everyone says like you make your lifelong friends in college, and like everyone would be forming these like big groups and everything. And I had like a big group, I don't know if you could say that, in freshman year because that's when everyone meets each other. But after that, it slowly started to dwindle, and part of that was an issue with my relationship because it was one-sided and I only hung out with his friends. And so like I disconnected with a lot of those people. And then towards the end, it was like, I mean, Dara wasn't there anymore, but I still considered you a friend. Molly, I still considered you a friend, even though we weren't hanging out all the time.
Yeah.
But like maybe like my roommates, So, which now live in New York City, and I don't really talk to them all the time because they're busy. And that's also another thing is like, you don't have to text me all the time. Like, if we're friends, I still consider me and another person to be close, even if we don't text, because texting for me is like a huge thing now. I'm not very good at it. I feel like it takes a lot of energy out of me, especially when I've been like looking at my computer all day at work and then I come home. It's like I'll text you if it's something important, but otherwise, like, I don't really feel like it.
I totally feel you. It does feel like more effortful than it used to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of things do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like one of my regrets from college is that like I didn't spend more time with you or like stay as you, because I think that like the relationship definitely like played a part of it, that, you know, like we just were like around different people and that kind of thing.
Mm.
But I think that I mean, I had basically a different group of friends every year of college.
Mm.
So freshman year, the first semester was only friends with Dara and didn't really talk to anybody else, and was like terrified of the rest of college because I was like, I don't have any friends. And then sophomore year, I was an RA and I was friends with other RAs, because it was hard to be friends with people who weren't, because it was a very different college experience. And then my junior year, I was mostly friends with like student organization people. And then my senior year, it was kind of like a culmination of some of all those people, but then people that I had only met the year before that I moved in with that I became really close to. So it was kind of funny how like every year I just kind of like morphed and like moved into a different group or whatever. But I didn't have like a core group that narrative of what college is supposed to look like kind of tells us, of like you meet people like probably in your building. Like I think second semester freshman year, that was kind of when we became friends. But you know, like that group didn't, you know, go through the years necessarily. I think for some people, definitely not for me. And it's just interesting how like, I don't know, like I kind of morphed myself. And I think that like the idea that college is supposed to be the best 4 years of your life is utter nonsense to me, because like for me, it was 4 of like the hardest years of my life, like mentally. I think senior year was pretty good, but I mean, even then, like things were pretty tough. And it makes sense that like you're growing and changing, so you become friends with different people, but then there are people that are special that you remain close to over the years. And it's, you know, I think Dara is like the only person that I really stayed super connected to from freshman year, other than you. So
Yep. I would say like I like we've said this before, so this is not like a new, but like I feel very lucky to have found Molly and to like have been roommates with Molly, and like we like, it was very spur of the moment us becoming roommates. Like we were roommates before we were friends. Like we sort of like we met through a like mutual acquaintance, and then sort of like the next
orientation.
Yeah. Sort of like the next day we were like, want to live together? Like, and like I can't even begin to, like, it would take much longer than the time we have to like to lay out all of the ways in which Molly has like permanently altered my life, and like for the positive. Like I I was really, you know, like I think that loneliness that we talk about, like it hasn't just been this last year. Like I think most people experience loneliness from the time that they understand what the word means to like infinity and beyond. And like I was like a pretty lonely middle schooler, and like a pretty like I wouldn't say super lonely high schooler, but you know, like I think was like an artist, bit of an outlier. And like all I wanted my whole childhood was like a best friend. You like search out those people. You're like, who's my best friend? Like this person's my best friend now. And like I think what you said about how you people please and you are there for people when they might not be there for you in return. I think like when I think about Molly and our relationship, and like I think about someone who's like really been there for me, and someone who like I would drop everything to be there for. And like I know that without us having to like reaffirm that every day, you know, like
Yeah.
I know that like if we didn't speak for a month, which like wouldn't happen, but like if we didn't speak for a month and then like Molly called me and was like, I have an emergency situation, like I would move heaven and earth, you know, like that's what like that's what a best friend is and does. And I also think that like best friendship sort of seems sort of like, we've also talked about this, but like kind of like trivial, like
juvenile.
Yeah. Like I think like in our society and culture, we like really value romantic relationships as like what we're all searching for. Like we're all searching for this like great love. But I think like I was thinking about it the other, you know, during quarantine, because like what the fuck else do you have to do? Sorry, are we allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
After I've just like dropped 20 F-bombs. No, you know, I was thinking about like, you know, would I be, you know, am I okay with like just, you know, if it's like just me and Molly, then like, you know, I never find like a romantic partner. And I was like, yeah, that would be fine. And I think like I really hope the landscape is changing to like include, you know, best friends, soulmates, for like lack of a better terminology, because like it's pretty good. It's like a pretty good deal, you know.
It is. Yeah. I feel like I still have very limited dating experience, and like I don't know, I think that I'm really bad at casual dating. So I just am always thinking about things like 12 steps ahead, sort of. And I'm like, well, where is this going to go? Like, I don't know where I'm going to be in life. So I have a hard time dating, I feel like, at this point in my life, especially. And at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, if I never find anybody, like Dara and I can just like get some goats and some land and my dog, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Live it up and it'll be fine. And like society tells us that that's so wrong. That like well, I mean, first of all, like because we live in like a heteronormative patriarchy, whatever. Like, society tells us like we need a man. Hell no. Like not no.
If the two of us could get through Roland in freshman year together, we literally don't need no man.
Roland was our res hall, by the way. People don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely, all of what Dara said. And yeah, I feel comfort knowing that like, and I think that that's true in different parts of my life. Like I have, you know, one or two people from like high school or from college who, similar to Dara, I feel like I'm like, you know, if I end up living with them in my 80s, like that's a happy retirement to me. Like, yeah. And I think we definitely need to do more work in our society to like value other relationships. Because it's so important. It's also so important because like when a romantic relationship ends, like who else do you have in your life? And I think like women especially become so isolated from their other relationships because we're told to only value and like told to really center men in our lives and those relationships.
or even partners, period.
Hmm?
Or even partners, like romantic partners, period.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, society needs to change how friendships and partnerships are viewed, but also just like independence. Like that's huge. Like I didn't put myself first in my relationship, but I also don't think I put myself first in my friendships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like valuing ourselves as individuals and then trying to, find a partnership or a friendship that is equal in the effort and all that stuff is, like I said, especially for me, some things feel one-sided. And I think I do have like 2 or 3, maybe 2, maybe 1, I don't know, friends that I do feel like connected with, and I do think they like would be there for me in any sort of aspect whenever I needed them. But I don't know if that connection is like 100% there because of how it started, of like me just like being there for everybody and being just kind of like a center of just, okay, just use me as your friend. I used to be like in high school, especially like the funny friend. And like I've seen on TikTok some people talking about that and how much like pressure there is on those kinds of people. And I don't know if this makes sense, but like to always be that like entertainer.
Oh yeah.
And that was me for a really long time, and I still notice it with a couple people. Like if I'm more like chill and relaxed, they think something's wrong, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that kind of makes me like think that like the friendship is kind of going somewhere else, just because maybe they don't understand me as a whole person. They have this idea of me, and maybe same for me and them, and me and their view, my viewpoint on them. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Totally.
It's that ability to just be and just have all different types of emotions and take up that emotional space in a relationship and just be able to breathe and be yourself. I think the true test of a relationship is like, can you hang out and not do anything, and just be? Because otherwise it's pretty exhausting to constantly like having this act on or like being on all the time.
Yeah, and I will say too, because of this like whatever's going on with me in certain friendships, and I don't want to make assumptions because I don't know what's going on in their life. Like there could be this like shift because they're going through something mentally, and I think they might be. I mean, everybody is. It's COVID, and it's been an insane year. But like for me in 2019, that was like an individual journey, and I had to realize some stuff on my own, and I had to go through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to do that, so that they can rely on themselves. After all that, they know that they can always like, I don't know what the word is, but they're confident in themselves. They went through all of that. They went through a hard time knowing that they pulled themselves out of it. So I think that it's important for people / my friends, if they're going through that, to have this like individual journey. And again, like we're not going to have the same friends since like high school or middle school. Like things are going to change, and I think there's that like I'm holding on to that idea of like I've had these friends for so long that like if I lose them, then I'm not going to have anything. I don't know like how to make new friends. I don't know what kind of friends I'm going to be close with. I don't know what they're going to be like. I don't know what their interests are going to be like. I just have this idea and picture of like what my friendships have been and what the people have been like, that I don't know like what's to come and what I actually like deserve.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think and something that Molly has taught me is like, thinking in like a black and white way about relationships is like not always the most helpful, and how like relationships shift and change over time, and like maybe someone who was your best friend 2 years ago like doesn't fill that peg anymore, but like doesn't mean that you have to completely
Mm,
excise them from your life.
right.
Like friendships sort of ebb and flow, and how like, you know, sometimes you're really close to that person and sometimes you're not super close to that person. Maybe you like have different life experiences, but like that doesn't shut the door for like later down the line,
Mm,
you know, be once again becoming really close to that person again. And how like I think Molly and my relationship through college, like we were very, very close freshman year, and I was going through a lot of mental health problems freshman year, like developing some pretty upsetting depression and anxiety,
mm,
and like living in a room with another person, which I'd never done. We're both only children, and like
mm.
had never had never had siblings, had never had children, thank God. I never had siblings. And so like that was also an experience for me. I know that like it taught me that like, you know, I can live with someone, but I probably like need my own
Mm,
space. um and and like as college went on, we always stayed in touch. We were always
Mhm.
I mean, there might have been like a couple of months where we didn't talk, but again, that's that ebb and flow, how like, you know, I didn't think that she was like mad at me or like
right.
upset. Like we had vastly different lives after I left Ithaca, and like sometimes we needed to like tend to those lives.
Mm,
But like the roots of our friendship were strong enough that you could just sort of like leave it be for a while. Um I know that like, you know, it gets hard when you're like away from a friend, um and like you're going through something or like they're going through something and you feel like you can't really like be there for them. I think like that's really a challenge.
yeah.
um uh and I'll also say that like you were talking about um how you like have uh like you want to prioritize yourself in a friendship, like me first, you know,
Mhm.
like I like, and I totally think like emotionally taking up space in a friendship is like, yes. um but I also think that like the goal is like a place where like both things can happen, you know, like
Mhm.
that person can take up some space one day and like the next day I can take up some space, and like,
Yeah, balance.
right, exactly. um and I think like learning how to do both is like is the key, and like also requires like a great amount of trust, especially for people with anxiety. um
Mm,
you know, like I'm anxious that this person is going to think that I'm taking up too much space, or like I'm anxious that this person is going to think less of me because of something I'm saying, or um like I like they don't want to hear about this is like not interesting to them. But like finding those people who are like, you know, will sit and listen to you waffle is like pretty
mm.
fucking important.
So many
um
times I've like heard myself saying this sentence and I really have to stop is like when you're interested in something and you're telling someone about it, but you start the sentence off with like, well, I don't know if you like this, but like, so this happened, or like, I did this. It's like, oh, like I say that so many times in some of my friendships. But yeah, finding that balance, that's huge. And I think it is important that we prioritize friendships and learning how to find the right people and learning about yourself before the romantic relationships, because that's what's gonna, I mean, if you want to eventually be in a romantic relationship, like the experience you have with your friends and going through all that is going to teach you like what you want, what you deserve, how to be in a committal two-person or more relationship. Like I didn't have that before my relationship, and I suffered in the relationship. Like you said, we always, women put the man first. So dumb. But like those friends that I was like really, really close with freshman year, I still feel like a soul bond with them. I feel like there's like certain people, and probably Dara and Molly, you guys feel this with each other. There's like some people that there's just like that soul bond you feel with somebody. And even if you're like not close to them now, like for me and the friends that I disconnected with, I lost some of them because of my relationship. But like even now, like I still feel like I really vibe with them. I really connect with them. So it's like what you said, sometimes there's breaks in relationships, breaks in friendships, but like if you're meant to be friends with that person, you'll come back to them and all this stuff. But there's always growing periods. You're going to lose friends, you're going to make new friends.
Right.
It's a journey for sure.
It is. And I think that if that connection is there, like it will always be there. And I have full faith that like you will find your circle and like find ways to connect with maybe like people from that time in your life or like people down the road, because I think like there's this sense of anxiety of like, we need to form close bonds right away with people. And it takes time. I think that especially if you're somebody who went to like the same, like school system or that sort of thing. Like I know Dara had a little bit of a different experience because she was in New York City. But for me, the people that I was in kindergarten with were the people that I graduated from high school with. And I think that because of that, the friendships that I had going into college, I was like, oh, like I'm going to meet people and like have to make that sort of connection right away. And the truth is that it takes time. And I think a lot of it is like that connection grows through developing
what it goes through
together. Sarah always makes fun of me because I have this poster on my wall that says grow through what you go through. And it's totally cheesy. And I
it's great.
It's great.
It's great, but it's
That's
also
cute.
like it is the epitome of Pinterest. And
oh yeah,
live, laugh, love.
At least it doesn't say that.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like yeah, my experience was totally different, but I think that like I had and still have someone who I consider to be like a very close friend who like really is more of like a sibling for me now from high school. Like we are like family. Like there's no way we're ever not going to be in each other's lives. Molly and I just like have a different, I think like a different kind of relationship because like and I'm sure the people who are listening to this will like pick up on this, but Molly is just like one of the kindest people.
Hello.
Like
you are
like she's just like an excellent listener, and also like just a incredibly selfless and kind person. And like like that I needed that like badly. I was like a little plant who like needed that. And I also will say like because of my experiences, like Molly was definitely the first person in our relationship to be like, you're my best friend and I love you and like I support you. And I was still like what?
Thank you.
Like I had
Thanks.
wow, that's so nice of you. Like I because like I had never like Molly had like a lot more faith and trust in our bond earlier than I did. I like didn't understand what was going on. I was like, it can't possibly be this good. Like something is a foul here, and like I'm gonna find it out when I do.
That's some fun anxiety you were experiencing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some great fun anxiety. And I think that's also like true too. Like we push away people who maybe could make our lives better because of anxiety, because of maybe like societal shit, heteronormativity, whatever nonsense society has placed on us. Take your pick.
Yeah.
And I think that like I think, you know, self-sabotage isn't gonna like go away, but it was nice that that Molly was like, no, like, no, don't know.
Can I ask you like how you got to that point of
Which
like
point?
of like trusting that friendship and like believing that it was going to be like a long lasting thing?
Me or Molly?
You, Dara.
Ew.
Well, we had I was really, so okay, a little bit of context. I was really miserable doing my BFA at Ithaca.
Yeah.
I think that theater school is a scam in the United States, and we should all talk about how much of a scam it is. But it's like, it was really insular and miserable and whatever. And by the end of the year, I had like started therapy, sort of. I'd like sort of taken the first step, and I was like pretty unhappy and was having feelings and emotions that I wasn't recognizing in myself, and it was really scaring me. And I not so much lashed out, but I shut down really intensely. And I remember like Molly and I had this conversation at the end of the year where I was like, I don't think that I can live with you next year. And it was like I was like very scared of having this conversation. And it was the first time that like I had to like really be honest with a friend in that way, because like when you're living at home in high school, like shit might go down. That's totally true. But you always go home at the end of the day, you know? And like, it was really the first time I had to be like, you know, here we go. And every other time that had happened, never to that extent. And also like the friendships would end. And I was like, okay, I'm terrified. We need to have this conversation. It would have been a moot point anyway, because Molly got the RA job and we wouldn't have been allowed to live together anyway. But I was like in a bad spot, and I was like, I need to be living alone. And like I didn't even bring it up. She was like, in the way that like Molly is just honest. She was like, are we living together next year? And like, I'm a terrible liar.
Me too.
And I was like, well, no, are we living together next year? I need to make plans for my life, Dara. And I was like, and after that conversation, you know, I still wasn't well, still wasn't really great. But as like, you know, we continued to be friends after that, and like continued to, you know, love each other and trust each other. And I was like, oh, honesty, a concept. And I think it was just time. Like, I don't think there was a moment where I was like, oh yes, we're our best friends now. Like, right. I think it was like that, the fact that like we had times that were tough. Like, we had some shit that was like really rough for me and for Molly, and like we like talked it through and like got through it, and like we learned how to like live with each other. And I think like for me, that was like how I was like, oh, okay, like I can trust this person. She's not gonna like run away if like something bad happens. Yeah. Molly?
Yeah, Milo is just barking, so I muted him.
L-O-fucking-L.
So cute. I want to meet Milo.
He's the best and the worst. yeah, I think as like the other person, I think that it just took some time, and like that bond to grow too, and for us to spend more time together. And eventually it just kind of was what it was. I think that it's interesting how like when you're younger, like you kind of have like fights with your friends and stuff, and that still happens for people when they're older too. But like Dara and I have never had a fight about anything. I think we had a disagreement over a boy freshman year, like once.
Wait.
Dee Dee.
Oh, yes.
Like for 5 minutes. And then we were like, oh, this is just how it is.
I totally forgot about that. I'm not even
the only reason that I remember it is because it was the only time that I was ever like really frustrated with you and had to like say something, or like the only time where like we had like differing
I can't. This is some trauma fog right now.
Oh no.
Any of that.
So basically I was like hanging out with this guy, and then Dara was like gonna go get lunch with him, and like I don't even really remember what happened, but basically it was like, oh, okay, no, like the three of us can hang out and it's fine. And then we like moved on with our lives, and we literally have never had like a big like disagreement or fight or something. And I think that what we have had is both of us going through really serious life changes and experiences, and having to just kind of witness and like be along for the ride with the person, and knowing that like you can't be there in some ways. I think there was, for me at least, most of 2019, just when I was going through it, and in a really rough spot, I know it was really hard for Dara to witness that because she loves me. And she like couldn't be there in the ways that she wanted to, and like I didn't even know what I needed at the time, but I think what I did need was just somebody to be there, and she was, and she didn't leave, and she wasn't scared off by it. But
and also didn't know about a lot of what was happening until after the fact.
Yeah, which is so freaking telling of just my own shit, is that like Dara is probably the person that I'm closest to in the world, and I don't think I had the self-awareness to explain what was going on, but I also like basically like I had to get treatment for an eating disorder, and when I was really like going through it, like I was so dishonest with myself about it, and so afraid of like people not believing me for various reasons, or just wanting to like just have it be my own thing. And I didn't let people in, even Dara. And I know that was like I think it made it probably even more difficult when it really came to a head, because then it was like, well, what do you mean your life is in shambles? Like she knew something was wrong, but she didn't know what. I wasn't telling her. And I think I was better at lying than maybe I thought about it.
Well, you were lying to yourself. It wasn't like you knew you were lying for a lot of it. And I would also like to just like red pen underline the fact that I like that didn't make me upset. Like I wasn't angry at Molly for that. Like, and I don't think that the way that our friendship works is like that didn't feel dishonest, like if you're going through something and you like really don't feel like you can share it with anyone, then like of course like it doesn't make any sense that like I would be the exception, like I don't think either of us are precious about the friendship, like, oh, like she didn't tell me, oh my god, that must mean that like she doesn't like me anymore. Like and this is the part where it's not all about me, like it's not like it's her shit, like she's going through it, and like I have to help her with that, and like put some of my shit aside for a while. And like I know, because it happened when like shit came back around to me this year, like like that role is very fluid, and it's not just like, oh, like I have to like prioritize myself in this friendship always, you know?
Yeah, I really just wanted to ask you about that. One, just to like know more about you guys and your friendship, but also because I have a friend that's going through something right now. And like I said before, with like any mental illness or with like any struggle, there is that independent journey that people have to take, and sometimes like they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like they have to figure it out without your help, and it's just been like hard for me because I'm an empath, because I was like, I felt very close to this person, for them to like leave. They moved, and now like we're not talking, but I'm like Dara said, I'm not mad at them. I recognize that this is like an independent journey they need to take. They needed to get out of where they were living because it wasn't good for them. But it's been hard for me because I feel like there's nothing I can do, and I feel like in a way that that connection has been lost, but I know that it's not like a forever thing. I know, and I'm totally okay with them like doing things for themselves to get in a better mental state. But yeah, going
Have
through
you said
that
that
right
to them? Have you said that to them?
now. Before they moved, I think there were some times when I would say like, it's okay that you don't know what's going on. Like I'm just here for you. I haven't reached out in a while. I don't think I've messaged them since like January. Just because for a while in the relationship, I felt like it was always me reaching out. So of all the things you read and everything, it's like you just have to let them like come back to you. But it's also like, I don't think this is about me. Like I'm not trying to say that in any
No.
way.
It
But I
sounds
have
like kind of a meeting point of like two different things. It's like, you know, she's going through her thing.
Yeah.
And in your relationship, a lot of the time you're the one initiating contact or reaching out. So it's kind of this like, you know, layered experience of like, how do you support somebody, and knowing the context of that relationship, if you were frequently the one reaching out, like, you know, relationships do ebb and flow in that way. But if the pattern is always you reaching out, you do want that person to reach out to you. And if they're going through something, they might not necessarily do it.
right. Yeah. So I've come to a point of just like peace with it, I think. And there's like days where I feel worse about it and days where I'm okay. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I think they were hiding it from themselves, and therefore like they were hiding it from other people too. So yeah, I mean, I know I'll always be there for them even if I'm not texting them all the time. It's just like, yeah, I know they're going through it. Will I message them? I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Long distance is also hard, and especially if someone, a long distance friendship, I should say, and especially if before they left there was some like unresolved shit in your relationship, then like long distance is especially hard because it gives you like a very convenient out, you know, like, and like sometimes that out is necessary. Sometimes like, and it sounds like it may not be such a bad thing that you guys are like taking a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I think so too, actually. Yeah.
But I think that like, you know, Molly and I haven't really lived in the same place for most of our friendship. And it like, that can be really tough because like, I think like Molly was saying, like you can't always be there in the ways that you want to be for that person.
Right.
And that sounds sort of like a similar situation.
I think it's hard too because you only see the part of their life that they show you. Whereas like, if you're around somebody, they, you know, you see each other's ebbs and flows, And I think that's part of why I was able to hide a lot from Dara in 2019 was like, you know, I could present this like very narrow version of myself, which is also just like shitty because it's not authentic.
Right.
And I think part of it is just the reality of like a long distance friendship is that, you know, they only really see parts of your life that you show them. And luckily, I think Dara like knows me well enough to know that it was bullshit. And like, she would tell me that at the time. And I was like, yeah, it is, but I don't really know what's going on.
Molly has a saying. She says, that's a really great idea that I'm not gonna do.
But I was gonna say that's such a valid response, Molly, just to be like, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like to not know, that's totally an okay response.
Yeah.
And it's like really hard for a lot of people. And I notice it in my friends who are going through it right now. If like I ask to hang out and they say like, oh, like maybe, yeah, I'll get back to you. I'm like, just say you don't want to hang out. Just like just like the whole honesty thing, or just say like, you don't know really how you're feeling right now. Like, I can't say yes or no. I don't know. I just like the whole honesty thing is important, but I know it's really hard to get to that point when you're going through shit.
And I feel like it's even extra complicated right now because it seems like just with all of the isolation and everything, I think this stuff is even more challenging. Whereas like if you were seeing somebody, you know, and then you're able to be like, oh, hey, like, do you want to hang out next week or something? That in-person encounter I feel like would be very different than the ways that they're figuring out. Like there's just all this weirdness. I mean, the world is like starting to open a little bit and like we still need to be really careful. And then, you know, sometimes people just like don't have the energy to do anything other than survive. But I think it's important to like communicate that when we can so that the other person knows what's going on and can have that security within themselves too.
Yeah.
It is a time of great forgiveness.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. And with that, we're at an hour.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That was, wow. Yeah, that was amazing. It's a really important topic that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. Molly, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, of course. I miss you guys. And Dara, your hair. Oh my God, I love it.
Thank you. I am excited for it to grow out again.
Oh yeah.
We're learning to live with it. It's fine. I just wanted to do it once.
Yeah.
And I've done it. It's done. Now I would like my curls back. Thank you.
That's how I felt. Did you buzz it?
I sort of. It was pretty short. It was pretty close to the.
Okay. Yeah, I cut mine as a pixie cut, and then at some point over the months I cut it really, really short. I don't know. I don't think I got it that short. But I liked it. I liked doing it, and now I'm growing it out again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've done this bucket list experience. It's over.
Right. But you look great, and it'll look great growing out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Okay, guys. Well, I'm sure I'll talk to you two independently off the podcast because I miss the old faces.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out anytime. I'm literally always around.
Okay, always. Me too. And just like FaceTime me out of the blue because I suck at texting. I'll respond to you because I haven't talked to you forever, but yeah.
I like blink and a month goes by and I'm like, oh my
literally.
God, I can't talk to this person.
No, same. Oh my God.
So we're practicing positive communication.
Yes.
You said to just FaceTime you, so we're just gonna FaceTime you.
Yes. All right, guys. This has been Anxious and Thriving, and we'll see you on the next Wednesday's episode.